Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream where I go live every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to talk all things claims, careers, coffee, and all kinds of other cool stuff. I'm your host, Josh Fisher, and this stream is brought to you by Crew Talent Group, the greatest claim adjuster recruiting group on the planet. If you're tuning in, jump in the chat. I'd love for you to say hello. And if you enjoy this content, do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me more than you could know. And if you're in claims or you want to be, connect with me on LinkedIn or send me your resume at www.crewtalentgroup.com. I'd love to hear from you. Now it's time for the show. What up, what up, what up, what up? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a fantastic Tuesday. Thanks for asking. We've got the live stream. It's 9 a.m. here on the Best Coast. Sunny, 78 degrees yesterday in Portland, Oregon. Beautiful day, beautiful week. If you're just joining, if you're just tuning in, say hello in the chat. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. We got a new stream layout. We got new music. Hopefully I don't get a strike or whatever, DCMA. This is royalty-free music. Did my homework there, but happy Tuesday. Grab a cup of coffee, have a seat, grab some kombucha, protein shake, whatever you're drinking this morning. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. We're going to get right into it. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream. Got a new little intro. If you missed that, welcome. Glad you're here. Say hello in the chat. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, we're going to get right into it. If you've got questions, this is totally open format. I spend the next hour of my life live streaming here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We've got 2 subscribers on YouTube. One of them is myself. So shout out to the other subscriber on YouTube. Let's go. Let's get into it. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the live stream, where I just kind of have this open format, I'm going to do my 3 things of the week. Having my tunes. The song ended. Got quiet. Yeah, I'm trying out these new tunes. Stream tunes. Shout out stream tunes. But let's get into it. The 3 things of the week, where I pick 3 things that I want to talk about and I talk about them. So let's get into it. If you've got a thing of the week that you want to shout out, drop it in the chat. Something you're excited about, some news you saw, something random. Doesn't matter what it is. Drop it in the chat. I'd love to hear one of your things of the week. Or if you think my things of the week are cool, you can say that too. Why did I kick my chat over? Maybe I didn't even make it work. Let's see if it works. Boom. That's me right there. Reese, thanks for saying hello. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a great week. Julian says hello. I forgot to move my chat over. We're rocking now. I don't know if people were saying things before, but it's working. We're live, baby. Maybe need to turn up the opacity. That's okay. Cool. 3 things of the week. First thing of the week, I'm going to talk about here some cool news that I saw. Not cool, interesting news that I saw. This comes to you live from NBC News. This is pretty well reported here kind of at this point. But some interesting stuff out of Nepal, Mount Everest. Not sure if you saw this. Sorry, I'm kind of messing with some levels here. But anyways, some interesting things kind of coming out of Nepal. Mount Everest climbers targeted an alleged $20 million insurance scam. 10 people have been arrested thus far. They are thinking 32 people involved. Tons of news on this. I'm not sure if you've seen this. Super interesting to me coming from an insurance perspective. So I'm going to break it down really quickly in the next couple minutes what's actually going on here. There's a little bit of fake news, a little bit of misreporting. So what's really going on here? Mount Everest climbers, that's kind of a stretch, I think, from NBC News here. So what's really going on here is they're investigating, and they've actually been investigating this since 2018. And so it's nothing new. But what's going on here is it's not people actually climbing Mount Everest. It's people that are, they're called trekkers. So basically people like you and me who are not big climbers that are in the area, we can pay a guide and go trek to the base camp of Everest. They're not going up to the top. They're going to just check out the base camp. And people like that do these expeditions are a little bit more, what's the word? They just aren't as aware of what's happening as much as someone who's maybe climbing Everest, and so they're more susceptible to a scam. So basically, what's been going on is they're kind of skirting the edge of, if you get sick, if something happens, if you're dehydrated, if you're vomiting at this elevation, things can go downhill really fast. And so what's basically happening is maybe they're egging people on, maybe they're coercing people to call helicopters, get helicoptered out, sent to local hospitals, who are then charging their insurance companies for these expeditions. That the helicopter ride to the hospital, and then the hospital bills, and then in some of the reporting that I've seen, that they're actually seeing that the hospitals are using x-rays from like patients that some guy that was investigating this as a part of a news story actually found his own x-ray in a tourist file. And so there's definitely some scam going on. They said they found about $6 million in fraud so far. They're looking at about $20 million in fraud. There's 32 people involved, from hospitals to the helicopter service people to the guides. There's been allegations of giving tourists baking soda to make them feel sick. So kind of crazy story, pretty wild. It's interesting because I think at all levels of insurance, or really where there's money to be given, people are trying to skirt the edge or the line, or trying to game the system. And so whether it be convincing someone to get on a helicopter when they necessarily don't need it and get flown to a hospital is like one kind of extreme example. But it's something that I think claim adjusters see in their workflows every single day. I think one of the most common things that we hear about is overhead and profit. And again, I'm not in the trenches, so I don't have necessarily as nuanced an opinion on it as someone who does it. Is it a scam? No, it's not always a scam. There's overhead and profit involved sometimes, but do people try and use that to their advantage sometimes when it doesn't apply? Certainly, I think so. So that's one of the places that I hear about it a lot. But I would imagine in almost every form of insurance, and then we even hear it outside of insurance, like government programs, things like that. So super interesting story. I'll keep up on it. We'll see. It's first thing of the week. Second thing of the week. Why didn't I get my logo out of here? California snow totals as of April 1st. They typically measure every year on April 1st. They measure the snowpack in California because it's the deepest date, usually. This year in California, the snowpack as of April 1st, 1 week ago today, was 18% of the average. They have 18% of the snow total. This year in the Pacific Northwest, we've had one of the worst years on record in terms of snow totals. What does that mean for fire season? I don't know. I'm not a fire expert. Certainly can't be good. We're not in a drought in the state of California right now, which is surprising, but it's not technically a drought. But I mean, you read about insurance companies pulling out of California all the time, whether due to legislation stuff or if it's the loss ratios aren't worth it. Certainly fire season is something to keep an eye on. Hopefully everybody out in California stays safe this year. Hopefully we don't see anything like what we saw last year. Horrific, but really tough snow totals this year. And then the third thing of the week, final thing of the week before we get into it, is I don't know if you're out there paying attention to this like I am. Here, let's see if I can make this bigger. Loss ratio mentioned. Check this out. I mean, I don't know if everyone's excited about this as I am, but I have been paying attention to this moon. I cannot take my eyes off this moon mission. Super cool stuff. Artemis 2 rocket went around the moon last night, went to the dark side of the moon, lost all human contact for a few hours. The furthest away humanity has ever been from Earth. Some of the coolest photos. We're getting real-time 4K images. This is just one of those photos. I just think this is one of the coolest photographs I've ever seen. But yeah, if you're not paying I mean, I don't really have an insurance angle on this. I know this is kind of claim stuff. I just think this is cool. Here, let's see if I can move this back, if I can make this go away. But yeah, that's one of the things I've been watching the last couple weeks is this mission, the launch. I think they're 5 days in. They're on their way back now, I would imagine. Hopefully they land safe and sound here sometime, end of this week. So pretty cool stuff. That's my 3 things of the week. If you're out there and you got something for the week, something cool, something you've seen, love to hear from you too. Cool. Well, we're just getting into it. Happy Tuesday. I got my new Crew Talent Group sweater on today. Shout out Canva. I need to get some mugs made. Loss ratio mentioned. Shout out Loss Ratio, one of the greatest follows here on LinkedIn. Some incredible content, some of the best video content. Shout out Catalyst community out there, little marketing community, not marketing, just professional community that I'm a part of, where we talk about digital marketing, digital strategy. Loss is a part of that. Some really cool content creators in the insurance space and outside the insurance space are in that community. Shout out Emma and James Roloff. Shout out Weston. Shout out Alex DePazzo. Some really awesome content creators out there help push me to build this show, this live stream every week. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, let's get into it. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. Totally open format. I open up my office. We talk. If you've got questions, if you've got situations, if you've got anything that you want to chat about specifically, I'm here for the next hour. You can send messages in the chat. You can also send messages via my website, crewtalentgroup.com/office hours, if you want to be totally anonymous. You got a situation you want to break down, or a job offer, or an interview, or whatever you want to talk about, resume, we're here. Otherwise, I've got a list of prepared questions, and these are things that I hear throughout the week when I'm talking to people, when I'm talking to hiring managers, if I'm talking to someone online, if I'm interviewing someone. If I hear something, or if someone has a question, the whole purpose, the whole idea of this live stream is there's a chance that someone else is wondering the same thing. So my goal is to help 100 people get jobs, and if that can just be help spreading knowledge, awareness, help improve you by 1%, that's enough for me. So that's the whole purpose of this show, Claims Recruiter Office Hours, every Tuesday. So pop in the chat if you wondering about anything, if you have any questions, you want to just say hello, say what up, that'd be cool too. And we'll start going through some of these questions that I've heard throughout the week. Got the new stream set up. Pretty stoked about this, but okay. Julian says, how common is it for independent, and just for the greater community out there, probably it's more, this is more geared towards independent adjusters to have their own websites. I recently created my own website to showcase my portfolio and resume in an attempt to set myself apart in another way. I think that's a really good question. So there's a couple ways that you could do it. I mean, like, think at a certain level, I think that independent adjusters should really try and think about their identity as like a company, and it's not just necessarily I want claims or I'm trying, like, there's so many things that you can offer. Like, think of yourself really as a business entity. And I know that comes off kind of weird sometimes, and maybe that's not for everybody, but especially like for your situation, like, what's stopping you from marketing to carriers directly, or getting business directly, or potentially getting clients other than independent adjusting firms? I know that's like where most people go when they start their independent adjusting careers, but like I think it'd be an awesome idea to for adjusters to have their own websites. I don't think it's something that you need to spend tons and tons of time and effort and energy to do, but I'd love to chat more. I could kind of point you in the right direction. I created my website for like, it cost me like $200, and I hired a Fiverr developer. Basically told them exactly what I wanted, like to a T, every single thing. They got it back to me in a week. It was like 60% of the way there. You could check out my website. Like, it's nothing crazy. There's definitely improvements that I could make, and I could spend hours and hours in optimizing my SEO and things like that. But I think it's a really good idea, especially for your like kind of goals, to do that. But also think of it more as like, what's stopping you from getting work directly with a carrier or directly with a TPA? So it's something that I think a lot of adjusters don't necessarily know about or even think about when they get into the business. But I know a lot of people that do it, especially people that really like establish a niche or a specialization, and that's kind of the progression step that I see sometimes. I don't think you want to advertise to other firms that you're doing that necessarily. So like, be a little bit careful, because people are always worried about you poaching their clients, and I don't think you would go out and poach someone's client. But if there was a small mutual company locally, or a TPA that needed an inspection and their IA firm didn't have it, what's stopping them from going to you directly as opposed to going through an independent adjusting firm? And then you can kind of have your own rates and things like that, and you could still get work through independent firms. So I think it's a really great idea. I think it's way easier to do than most people think. You have to pay a hosting site. It's like not a whole lot of money. If you have a design eye, you can use Squarespace, or you can try and design it yourself. It doesn't have to be crazy. And then you could pay someone on Fiverr. Like, I've literally paid a guy $200. He kind of got me there, and then I went in and kind of got it the rest of the way there. And it's to the point now it's easy enough where I could create more pages. I've got a blog that I created myself. And then you can also kind of advertise different services on it. And then you can link that to your LinkedIn. You can link it to your social medias. You can try and drive traffic that way. But having multiple links online, one of the things I'm learning with the roll-offs, again, shout out James Roloff, he's the SEO genius here, so he'd be someone that'd be really good to talk to. But then just driving SEO, so when someone I need an independent adjuster in Arkansas, how do you become like the third person or the fourth on that list when someone searches that on Google or ChatGPT? Having different websites that all link to each other with pages and driving SEO, that's one thing that you could do. And then you could advertise other services. I think it legitimizes your business a little bit too when people see that you have a website. I don't think it's crazy, but something that's I think it's a great question. I think it's really something to ponder, and I'd be happy to chat more too, just like what I've done, and I could even refer you like the guy that did my website. I mean, it was so cheap. Like, I actually did my website. I paid someone a lot more money to do it, and I didn't like it. 6 months later, I didn't want to spend any money on it, so I paid like nothing. Turned out good. You need to have very specific guidelines of what you're saying, and then that SEO is cool. SEO is a whole nother world that I really don't know, but am learning more about. Yeah, it's a great idea. And then you can link like Jeffrey Conrad. Shout out Jeff Conrad. Go follow him online. But he like does a really good job too. Well, he'll post like he'll write a blog, he'll put it on LinkedIn, he'll put it on a website, he'll drive traffic to all those. I think it's like from a marketing standpoint, a really good idea. And I think it's a good conversation for independent adjusters to think about is this is not a typical job. If you're an independent adjuster, you're a company and you applying to go work at the different IA firms, you got to stop thinking about it like I'm applying to a job. And you got to start thinking of it more of I'm marketing my businesses. I'm marketing my business. But like me as a recruiter, when I'm looking for an independent adjuster, sometimes it's as simple as I go into ChatGPT and say, find me an independent adjuster in Arkansas. And if ChatGPT is going to go and search the web for keywords, that's just another angle that you can use as an adjuster to help get you business. One of the things I do is I go on LinkedIn. And so obviously I talk about having like an optimized LinkedIn profile. I think that's one way you can drive traffic to yourself, but there's other ways that we find people too, as simple as just Googling stuff. Yeah. I'd be curious, like how do most companies go out and find independent? How do they choose which one they're going to use? Like if you're a small independent adjusting company, how are you going out and getting business? I think a lot of them do, and the ones that I've seen or been a part of do a mix of a lot of different things. But I think you can apply that too to yourself as an independent adjuster, how you go out and get business. I think a couple things that are good are having a good online presence, having a big LinkedIn presence. I think having a website's another one. I think attending local claims events, getting involved in your local claims organizations are other good ways to network with people. And I think the strategy is kind of all of those things together combined. So they meet you at an event, they go to your LinkedIn, they go to your website, they see that you're legit. It all works kind of hand in hand. So great conversation. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. I kind of got my mind going too. Excited about marketing myself, my own business. It's fun. Marketing is something that I've been learning. Didn't do a whole lot of it until about 6 months ago when I opened the doors to Crew. And so I'm learning here too. If someone else is in the chat and has ideas, I know adjusters that have their own websites. I know people that have kind of teetered the line of like, am I an adjuster or am I a firm? And then like the next step is kind of contracting out other people to help you out with different things, whether it be an inspection, whether it be writing up an estimate. Sometimes it's as simple as getting an eagle view. I mean, all those are kind of pieces of that, but yeah, it's a good idea. I use Hostinger to host my website, and I use WordPress, and then I use an application within WordPress that's like so easy to use. And ChatGPT, I mean, I know we're seeing a lot of this like vibe code stuff. ChatGPT taught me how to build Power BI dashboards, taught me how to help build a website. It helps you write code. It's so much easier than you think. But cool, let's keep rocking. I get this question every single week when I talk to people or when I'm talking to brand new adjusters. And so if you've watched this, if you tuned in, you know I've talked about this before, but I'm going to keep talking about it until I stop getting the question. That's okay. I'm happy to get this question. But if you're brand new to insurance, if you've never pondered working in claims, if you're kind of a casual on the outside looking in, you probably haven't heard what a TPA is. And so I'm here to talk about it. A TPA is a company that handles claims. That's how they make money, right? They get paid by someone else to handle their claims. So it's someone that handles claims on behalf of somebody else. There's different types of TPAs, even not in like benefits administration would be another type of TPA that's not insurance. But in the context of insurance claims, a TPA is someone that handles claims. So an example of this would be a broker writes a policy, sells policies to customers, but they don't have a claims department. They're taking the premiums in, they're writing the policy, they're setting kind of the guidelines, and they hand that off to a third-party company, and they pay them to handle their claims for them. So they do everything from claim intake to claim payment. They do every piece of it. They administer the claims. They have check rating authority. They pay the claims directly using the, it's not their money that they're paying out with. They're given authority, and they're given, the books. But that's what a TPA is. So in the context of claims adjusters, they hire a lot of claims adjusters, a lot of opportunity for claims adjusters. I love working with TPAs because they're really exciting jobs and a really good way to grow your career. Depending on your goals, depending on the type of work you're looking for, depending on your personality, it may or may not be for you. But they're awesome places to work. There's super big TPAs. Common ones that you've heard of probably are McLaren's or Gallagher Bassett or ICW or Sedgwick. Massive companies. There's also small mom and pop companies out there as well. Shout out EAS, Intermountain Claims. There's some really cool companies that are kind of regional or specialized. And so as an adjuster, it's a really good way to get exposure to different accounts, because there are certain occasions where you're working the Starbucks account with Sedgwick and all you're getting is general liability claims from Starbucks because they're a self-insured and they handle their own claims. That's an example of who might use a TPA. Starbucks, everybody knows who Starbucks is. They self-insure. They don't go through an insurance carrier. So if you slip and fall and hit your head on a table in a Starbucks and then you sue Starbucks, it's not coming from insurance. It's coming from Starbucks' own insurance fund, and they have a TPA that administrates that. And so they have, if you file a claim against Starbucks, it's not a Starbucks employee, it's a TPA employee handling that claim, getting you paid out, helping you with your medical bills, whatever that might be. So if you're working for an account like that, you're probably only working that account because it's huge. They get tons of claims. If you're working small account at a water park that gets 2 claims a month, you might be working 5 different accounts. So it's a good way to get exposure to different lines of business, to different specializations, to different types of things. Specialization is key in this industry. It's key in every industry right now in the world. I think it's just the key in business, is to specialize in something, to be the best at one thing, to be really good. TPAs are kind of no different. There's certain TPAs that do certain things really well, and certain places to kind of target if you're looking for certain things. If you want to work commercial transportation claims, fleets, there's things like that. There's TPAs that handle cyber policies. They're TPAs that handle, I talked to a guy that specialized in scaffolding. The insurance policies on the scaffolding on construction sites is different than the insurance policy on the actual construction. And the construction of the scaffolding and the deconstruction of the scaffolding and those very specific insurance policies, what they cover, what they do not cover, things like that. So really, really interesting lines of business that you can get into. Great places to work. If you're a TPA out there and you need a recruiter, you know where to find me. That's what I kind of specialize in. That's a lot of the work that I do right now is with kind of specialized adjusters, commercial liability, general liability, product liability, construction defects, a little bit of workers' comp. Those are the types of the jobs I'm seeing more and more of. It seems to be where people need help recruiting, at least. It's hard to find. There is what I would call a talent shortage for experienced, specialized kind of niche adjusters. And it's hard to get that experience. And I understand you can't just take someone with a couple of years of experience and hand them a multi-million-dollar, 10-party construction defect claim and say, go have fun. You can't do that. So where do you find those people? How do you get that experience? These people with this experience, there's not a whole lot of them. They kind of have they kind of get their choice of where to work. And so Yeah, it's hard to get it's hard to attract that talent. How do you bring that talent in? How do you retain that talent? It's a very competitive marketplace. So that's what I do. If you've got questions, if you're having some of those issues, if you're a company out there, I'd love to chat with you too. You know where to find me every Tuesday. Well, haven't gotten an alert yet that my stream got taken down because of my music, so I think we're good. I think we're good on that. Again, this is the Claims Recruiter office hours. Every Tuesday I go live for about an hour, chat all things claims, recruiting, whatever you want to talk about. Pop in the chat, say hello. We're here to kind of talk about whatever. I got a list of questions that I hear throughout the week. Chances are, if someone else asks a question, there's someone else that's wondering the same thing. And so that's the whole idea of this thing, is talk about careers. I want to bring more people into insurance. It's a really awesome place to work. And one of the cool things about insurance is that nobody signs up to work in insurance when they graduate college or when they start the workforce or whatever. And a lot of times, to graduate college, a lot of these jobs you don't even need a college degree to do. And so it's a lot more accessible than people realize. It's an incredible career path, tons of opportunities. See if I can come back into focus here. Come on, camera. You can do it. Sip my coffee here. See if this works. There we go. Happy Tuesday. We'll keep rocking. Question number 2. Can I get hired with no experience? Is this? Hold on. Okay, I have a couple that are similar, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But okay, can you get hired with no experience? You have no experience in anything? You've got experience, right? Like, I think this obviously is kind of like, I don't have any claims experience, but there's related experience. And again, what I was just talking about is this industry is for you. Like, this industry is way more accessible than you think. It's not for everybody. I said it's for you. It's not for everybody. It's tough work. It's hard work. If you don't like working hard, don't call me. If you want a coast and an easy job where you don't have to do anything, and no, it's not for you. It's for people that want to work hard. That people care about other people, that people have empathy, that people have good customer service skills, people who are organized, people who are good at negotiating, people who are detail oriented. If that sounds like you, people who like investigating, people who are just curious, critical thinkers, if that sounds like you, it definitely could be a career for you. Now, you need some sort of related experience. You can't just come off, you're going to have to develop some sort of skills in terms of customer experience, empathy, communication, organization. You're going to want to have a little bit of a history working in some type of environment that maybe is related, but there's certain things that are related that you just don't quite think about. Like, even like Chick-fil-A. You're a manager at a Chick-fil-A. Like, to me, that's someone who could be highly effective in insurance. You obviously have very good customer service skills. You have good people skills. You need to stay organized. You're used to working at a fast-paced work environment. Certainly. So, very short answer is you don't need insurance-specific experience to get your foot in the door. You're going to have to take entry-level jobs that have entry-level pay. You're going to have to work your tail off. But once you get in, the opportunities will present themselves. And one of the things that I would recommend to anybody who's starting off in insurance or getting experience is to work on educating yourself. And some of the ways that you can do that would be insurance designations. And a lot of times, if you get a job at a company, they'll help pay for some of these designations. And so that'll help you kind of with that education aspect of the insurance. But there are companies out there, TPAs we just talked about, insurance carriers, mutual companies, different types of claim companies that will hire you on with no experience, will pay to train you certain companies have really robust training programs, and yeah, it can be a really awesome career for someone who's never worked in insurance before. I got my first job in insurance working as a recruiter for Emerald Claim Service back in 2017. Basically, a recruiter called me up and said, hey, and I was looking for some work. I just moved to Denver. They said, hey, this company's looking to hire a recruiter. They said, what do they do? And they said, I have no idea. I said, sounds great. Let's try it out. Basically walked into this interview, had no idea what the company did. The recruiter I was working with also had no idea what the company did. Obviously, the people that I got in touch with at the company knew what the company did. Shout out Tina. And so, yeah, worked there on attempt to hire contract for 3 months. They hired me on full time. Worked there for 5-6 years. Really cool experience. So that's how I got in. Love to hear some other stories how you got into insurance, but certainly, yeah, it's a great career. Oh, this is a toughie. So saw this one online. I saw this on, I think one of the Facebook forums, and there was some interesting comments. You can go check it out if you want to go look at the original post. But I wanted to talk about it because I think it's important. I think it's a good problem to have, but I understand where this poster was kind of feeling weird about it. So basically, the situation: accepted a position with Allstate as a claims adjuster. I've been looking for claims jobs for a number of months. 2 days later, a different company who they really were targeting gave them an offer for $20,000 more, and this seemed to be more, it was their dream job. What do you do? So, first off, awesome problem to have. Congratulations, awesome problem to have. What do you do in this situation? I think the first thing you need to do is evaluate both options completely. So not even just the money, but everything else is important as the money. And obviously money is really important, and they put that in there because it is important to them. And that's why we go to work. That's why people go to work. They call it work for a reason. You want to get paid. You want to advance. You want to feel a sense of accomplishment. But yeah, you're doing it for a financial gain, right? That's why we all do it. I work hard so I can play hard. But yeah, you got to evaluate the jobs. What is the job? How is this going to set you up to accomplish whatever your goals might be, short term and long term? Evaluate the other aspects of compensation besides the actual money. We're talking benefits, but we're also talking workplace flexibility, how many hours you're going to need to work, what that workload is going to look like. Is it manageable? Maybe if this is a new position, like what's the training going to be? If it's 20K more and they're expecting you to come in day one and be further than you are, whereas Allstate's going to send you to claims college for 6 months, like evaluate all of that. But at the end of the day, the advice that I would give someone in this situation is you have to do what's best for you. And there's a good possibility that by telling Allstate that you're going to take a different job after you've accepted that job, there's a possibility that they put you on like a do not hire list for the future, and they don't consider you for future opportunities because you backed out of that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it because of that. I'm just saying, again, you want to evaluate everything. So all that being said, you have to do what's best for you, and you have to make that decision. And a company is always going to do what's best for that company. And I'm not calling out Allstate, but just any company on the planet right now, if they come to a situation where it makes more financial sense to like go a different way or do layoffs, like they're going to do that. And so you've got to think about yourself in the same way. You have to do what's best for you, even if it might hurt feelings or make someone upset or put someone in a not great position. Long term, do what's best for you. If you are in this situation, I would just be honest. I would keep it very short, and I wouldn't try and necessarily like defend your position, but just tell them objectively what's happening, why you're not going to proceed with them, thank them, and move on. You know, don't dwell on it. Don't make it into this big thing. Just be objective, factual. You want to say, you know, you're sorry for the way it worked out, or it wasn't timely. Like, they're gonna get it. They're gonna understand. And frankly, whoever that person is that you're telling would probably do the same thing in your position. So I wouldn't overthink it. Do what you got to do, but make the right decision when you're comparing two jobs. Really consider everything. Consider the company you're working for, the leadership team, even as far as like the manager, the person that you're working with every day. Money's important. Think about that too, but think about the big picture. Long term, baby. Cool. We're jamming out here. Happy Tuesday if you're just tuning in. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream brought to you by Crew Talent Group, the greatest claims adjuster recruiting firm on planet Earth and the moon, since humans are like they're on the moon too, so I don't know of any better recruiting firms on the moon. The number one claims adjuster recruiting firm in the universe, potentially. In the Milky Way, I don't know. We're hanging out here for about 18 more minutes, chatting all things claims, adjuster, recruiting. If you're finding any value in this, do me a huge favor, like the stream, comment, say hello, subscribe, share. It helps me more than you would know, and we'll keep rocking. Let's see here. First, oh, did I skip one? Nope. Okay. First claims interview at Intact. What to expect and how do you break into this industry? So I saw this on one of the Reddit forums. I commented, shout out this person for doing it. Everything we're talking about here, everything we're going through, they're doing it. Shout out that person for making the jump, getting the interview, going for it. Shout out Intact. Shout out Intact. I'm not working with these guys. This is just like free marketing for them. I'm just going to shout them out because I think they're awesome. Intact, if you need some people, hit your boy up. But check this out. On their website, they have a bunch. So they're hiring 10 trainees across the country, different offices, Illinois, Massachusetts, Plymouth, Minnesota, Twin Cities. Shout out Twin Cities, Colorado, all different types of jobs too. These aren't just like your run-of-the-mill claims jobs. These are some pretty cool, specialized niche roles that they are training entry-level people. Let's click on this one here in Twin Cities, accident and health, hybrid for a newbie. Incredible job. And I think I talk about it a lot, but I'd like to just show like this is what some of these positions look like that you can get as a brand new person into this industry. What do you bring? A bachelor's degree preferred, so not even required. Some business or insurance background is preferred. 0 to 1 years of claim experience. Have to get a license. That's not crazy in terms of what they're expecting you to bring. And so if you're in law enforcement, if you're a teacher who's looking to make a career switch, if you're in customer service looking to make a career switch, if you're working in health administration looking to make a career switch, this is an incredible opportunity. Again, you're not going to get rich here, but $60,000 salary to train you. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, I would definitely check that out. They have a bunch of these positions. But yeah, back to this question. What to expect, how to break in this industry. So an interview like this, I don't know Intact specifically. I don't know what they're going to ask you. So I can tell you kind of what I would ask somebody if I was in this interview, or if I was working with a client to kind of develop an interview for this. I would anyone who's interviewing, one of the things that I would recommend is you want to come up with about 5 questions, and that each of those questions needs to relate back to a specific like driver for you for something that you want in this role. So if you need somebody who is good at communication, who's good at organization, who's good at learning new skills, that's like 3 things. So there's 3 questions, right? And each of those in that interview, they're probably going to like rate your answer on how you're doing and then come up with a score. That's how I would do it, right? Every question is targeted back towards a skill that I list typically in the job description. So you kind of come in here. This is a little bit tougher because it's not, you're not going to have necessarily investigation or coverage determination experience. You're not going to expect that. But basically, you come up with like the key competencies of the role, and then you ask questions, behavioral questions, back at that. So if you're looking, one of the skills that you're looking for as someone who's hiring or evaluating talent, or someone interviewing, I'm going to be evaluating them to see how their communication skills are. And one of the ways that I can grade that or gain more data points or information around that is to ask you a specific experience where you had to have good communication in the past. And so one question that I would probably ask is, tell me a time that you've dealt with a difficult customer and how did you handle the situation? And that's a behavioral question. The reason I like behavioral questions as opposed to like, how would you handle in this situation, is because you can kind of flub that up, but you can't necessarily flub as easy a specific experience in your past. And the best indicator of future performance is past performance, right? If you're faced, it's like football, right? If you get the ball thrown to you and you're a wide receiver 10 times during a game and you drop it 9 times, what's the chances on the 11th time you're going to catch it or drop it, right? And so you can kind of have that same logic in like interview it, and that's why you have behavioral questions. If you are faced with a difficult situation 10 times in the past and you've handled it a certain way, same thing. If you're going to handle that situation in the future, it's probably going to be the same way that you've done in the past. So you can change behaviors, you can get better, you can improve, but it's a good way to evaluate people. So that's what I would do, is I would ask specific questions, behavioral-based questions about specific competencies. And so I'd think about things like my customer service, learning new skills, when I've been able to be an investigator or critically think. One of the things they'll probably ask you, or they want to get to the bottom of, is like, can you handle a busy desk? Because at the end of the day, they're going to train you, but then you're going to expect you to handle a busy desk. And so how do you handle pressure? How do you handle workflows or a work queue that maybe seems unmanageable at the time? How do you handle when you have 15 things going on at once? How do you prioritize? So those are the types of questions that I would ask. And one of the things that you as an interviewer can do to prepare is practice some of these questions, practice in a mirror, think about scenarios, write things down, but think about the STAR method. And I know this isn't sexy podcast content necessarily, but it's important, and I think it's a really good skill to have. So a STAR-based interview question response is a specific framework for how you respond, and it's talking about a situation, the task that you were faced with, the action that you did specifically to resolve that or to do whatever you needed to do, and then the result. So situation, task, action, results. STAR method. Example of that. How did you tell me about a time when you identified a problem at work and created the solution? And then so you're going to come up with, okay, the situation was I had a bunch of managers basically asking for the same thing all the time. And so the action was I needed to create a new workflow to make it more seamless and effective instead of reaching out to all these people directly. And so I created a dashboard with up-to-date information and gave them all the links so they could all access it in real time. And the result was it was less duplicative work for me, and the managers loved it. You know, something as simple as that. But back to the question, congrats on your interview. This person sounds like they have an interview there. Congrats, hope it goes well. I'd love to hear about how it goes if you're out there. And yeah, if you're a new adjuster out there, check out Intact. Pretty cool company. Now I'm getting close to the end of the hour because my coffee's getting low. I need to get an office coffee maker. Well, an espresso machine back here. That'd be really cool. Okay. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream every single week. We go live here. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Shout out my one YouTube subscriber. Let's go. Okay. Accepted a new job, but my old job countered. What should I do? You should remember why you were looking for a new position in the first place. And if $10,000 was all that the reason why, most people don't look for new jobs because of money. That's statistically accurate. Most people don't look for new jobs because for money. So yeah, remember why you've looked at, and if those feelings are going to go away because of $10,000, you probably didn't have the right motivation in the first place. But yeah, I mean, I'd look a hard. I don't know. I see this. I've seen this before. I see this before as a recruiter, where you're about to cross the finish line. You've accepted the job. Old company comes back and they counter, and the person drops off. And what happens 3 months later? My inbox. I get a little beep in my inbox. Hey, you still have that job? You know, that happens so much more than you think. So I see it time and time again. Those feelings don't go away. The reason why you started looking in the first place doesn't go away. Most people don't leave their old jobs because of money. Take the new job. That's my advice. I understand it's situation based, and there may be a situation where that, you know, that makes sense, but don't call me for that job 3 months later. Yep. Don't take it. Don't take it. What is going on with NFIP? And maybe Julian, you know more about this than I do. I'd love for you to tune in. I've been getting this question a lot when I talk to people, like, what the heck's going on with NFIP? And to be totally frank, like, I don't really know. So if you know, or if you're out there lurking here on the live stream and understand this situation more than I do, please tune in or join in here and let me know, and I can kind of help answer this question. What do I do know? So NFIP, for those who are not familiar, is the National Flood Insurance Program. It is part of FEMA. FEMA is a part of Department of Homeland Security. Basically, it is a flood program where people can buy flood insurance. It's an insurance program that's bankrupt. There's no money. Yeah, they have no cash. It's the federal government. They're not bankrupt, but they owe a ton of money. But basically, it's an avenue for adjusters to get jobs, because when the floods happen, there are people with these policies that need to get paid out, and so typically during large hurricanes, there's a lot of work with NFIP, and in order to work with a government agency, you must be certified through that government agency, basically. And there's certain firms, certain adjusting firms out there that do that work, and they certify you. And basically the certification process, you know what Julian's saying, basically no funding for DHS shutdown, no money equals no webinars. Yeah, so they basically, the certification process is kind of weird right now, and the webinars and the way that you go get certified has been not happening because of the DHS shutdown. Julian says follow flood adjusters for more updates. Feel free to drop it in the chat too. I'll definitely be checking that out. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. I know that there is going to be claims. I know that there's going to be a need of work. I know that it's a little bit weird right now, and so if you're an independent adjuster, especially looking for that type of work, it's definitely something to be keeping an eye on, because it sounds like there may be a shortage of people to do the work if it actually comes. And so yeah, Julian's putting it on Facebook. Check out that group if you want to stay updated on NFIP. I don't know what's going on. I know the government's a mess. It's always a mess, but a lot of opportunity. I know a lot of adjusters that have done work with FEMA before, and I know, like, kind of towards the beginning of the year, there were some FEMA contracts getting canceled and people out of work because of that. I don't know I don't follow closely enough into like politics and kind of the reason or rationale. I mean, we heard in the news, we're still hearing in the news about some of the, like the dysfunction and people getting their money in the North Carolina flood. You know, another big problem in flood insurance is that like a lot of these floods, a lot of these losses are happening in non-flood zones, and so these people don't have flood insurance, and so the programs are a mess. FEMA's a mess, but yeah, it's a struggle right now. It's a mess. I don't know what else to say. Follow it closely if you've done that type of work, and they'll probably have the webinars, the certification process at some point. But yeah, between kind of the mess at DHS and the shutdown and the leadership changes, I'm hoping there's probably some updates here coming up. So interesting stuff. Oh. Do designations matter when trying to advance in claims? I think so. Especially on the W-2 side, I hear this a lot. I think the biggest thing though is just like education. It's on my list of things to do here in 2026 is to start my AIC. And the designations we're talking about are done through the institutes. I think it's just called the institutes. But basically, it's a insurance program that offers educational designations. It's not like a college program, but they do take quite a bit of time. Fairly expensive. If you have a full-time job at a carrier or a TPA, a lot of times they'll pay for you to get your AIC or your ARM or your CPCU, and so definitely things to check out. You see them on a lot of high-level adjusting jobs that they prefer people with designations. I think the big thing though is just for your own personal education. It's certainly a good move if you're up for it. So highly recommend it. Maybe we'll make a study group when I start my AIC here. Probably do that after this marathon. I have more time. I don't know, can I audiobook? Can I just listen to the training books when I run? That's what I should do. So this is something I get just when I talk to people, talk to adjusters, connect with people on LinkedIn, get in conversations, is like, how do you know when you've outgrown your role and what you should do when you outgrow your role? I think a couple things that you can do if you feel like you've advanced or if you're kind of like at the top end, you know, like it's hard to make more money working for the same company long term. You're going to get, you know, 3%, 4%, whatever it might be, raises. You might get a little additional bonuses. But if you're working the same role and there's not opportunity for you to advance into like get a promotion, that's how you make more money. Is you get promotions or you go work at you take a different job somewhere else for more money. And so what I would do is two things. Is I would have a candid conversation with your supervisor about it, and like review times are good, but just like any time where you're having kind of a one-on-one mentorship conversation about your performance or if you know whatever, talk to your manager about what your goals are, some things you want to accomplish, and if they can give you any solid steps to getting there. Hey, I want to be a manager and you know that's my long-term goal. Like, what steps can I start taking today to start moving in that direction? And they might say, I'm the manager and I'm not leaving. There's probably not going to be any openings. And if that's the case, then it's probably time to talk to a recruiter. They might say, hey, yeah, this sounds like an awesome career path for you. Here's some things that you can start working on. And so I wouldn't give an ultimatum or be weird about it, but just kind of say like, this is my long-term goal. Like I like this company that I'm working with. How can we get there? And maybe they'll start to give you more tasks or assign you more things or assign you more complex claims. Or they might tell you to take a hike. And then you call me up. But talk to your manager. Talk to recruiters, because we see people in these situations and we can kind of give you, even if it's not, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to just come to me when, hey, I'm looking for a job tomorrow. You can come to me and just say, hey, this is kind of my long-term goals. How do you think I can help get there? And I can kind of leverage my experience talking to other people, talking to people that I've seen grow or do similar paths. I can connect you with people like that, or I can just kind of give you tips and advice for for what that looks like, or if you have a certain amount of experience, what roles you should target, or what types of pay ranges that I've seen. And so talk to your manager, talk to a recruiter, talk to multiple recruiters even. Call your boy first though. But yeah, that's what I would do. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting to kind of feel that way. It's kind of stinks in the moment, but there's a lot of opportunities, and if you can kind of start positioning yourself early for these opportunities, there's a lot of money to be made. So cool. Well, if you're still hanging with us, we made it an hour. Appreciate you tuning in today. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great week. That's all I got this week. We'll be here back again next Tuesday and the Tuesday after that, and every single Tuesday here on forward with the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream. We go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're having an awesome week. Hope you crush your goals. Remember to move. Remember to get 30 minutes of exercise every day. Drink water. That's all I got. Thanks so much.